Pat McFadden's here with us, got a new job. What is it?
It's 2 jobs.
Oh, do you get more money?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Keir Starmer's asked me to shadow the Cabinet Office in Parliament and what it does, but also to head up the planning for the next general election campaign, which...
So it's your fault if you lose?
We're a team. So I hope that's not the case, because I don't think we are going to lose, and we're going to give this everything over the next year.
OK, what happened to Lisa Nandy? As I said yesterday to Jonathan Ashworth, does he not like women from Wigan? What's the problem? Look,
in politics, the one power you have as the leader of the opposition is to pick your team. And the view I've always taken of it, when being asked to do jobs, is you say yes quickly, you let the manager pick the team, and you get on with it. And I think that's the right thing to do, because it's really the only power a leader of the opposition has. They've got to pick from the PLP and put the best people they think into the right jobs. And I think that's the only thing that was in his mind when he made the changes the other day. I mean, it's now 15 years since Tony Blair was in power. Is this the extent of our sort of imagination when describing people? Is this,
so you won't call on his talent come the next election?
Look, I think we've got a lot to learn from our last period in power, and I'm a huge admirer of Tony Blair, but I think after 15 years maybe we should expand the lexicon of labels that we have, if that's not too much to ask.
I heard David Milliband on a podcast yesterday saying he's going to come back and campaign, but he's not going to be a candidate.
Well, he came and campaigned for me in Wolverhampton South East last time, and he's very welcome to do so again. He and I are good friends. I think he is an immense talent. Was, you know, when I was growing up in politics, you know, the best of our generation. So I'm an enormous admirer of his, and if he's got anything to, any energy to give to the Labour Party in our campaign next time, I'd welcome that very much.
Wolverhampton, not far from Birmingham, they've got themselves in a pickle. I mean, what is that about? Basically paying women less than men forever, and as a result, it's finally caught up with them, and they're bankrupt.
Yeah, these Section 114 notices, as they're called, Birmingham is the biggest, and it's a serious situation, but they're not the first, and they won't be the last. We've had this...
But it's an outrage they paid women less than men.
Of course, on the equal pay front, women should be paid equally and fairly
because it's the law.
For the work they do, as the law. But these notices of councils in financial difficulty have affected Thurrock, Croydon, smaller councils in Birmingham. Birmingham's the biggest. I predict they won't be. They're not the first, and they won't be the last.
I'm talking about the principle.
On the principle of equal pay, of course they should pay equal pay.
I mean, they should be condemned for not paying women, especially low-paid women, the same amount. It's mostly cleaners and people of low income, and they literally were not paying them the same as men for years.
These are historic cases that go back a long way. They've been fought out in the courts, and the courts have put the thing to rights, and that's the bill that they are now paying. And if you go back decades, you'll know the history of this. Not only were women not paid equal pay, but sometimes the jobs they were doing were not valued enough. It was all wrapped up together. And these equal pay cases are about saying that it's not just about who was working next to you, but it's the kind of job you were doing. And that's all being sorted out in the courts. So it's a serious situation. But this is not just about equal pay. This is about broader financial difficulties for a number of local authorities. I suspect they won't be the last to be in this kind of difficulty.
I hear. What are you going to do about schools when you get back into power, whenever that might be? Are you going to reintroduce your building programme?
Well, the first thing we're going to do is today, which is to try to find out what happened. And the Chancellor said at the weekend that he would spend whatever it takes to fix this.
You guys just always wriggle off the hook because you're just not going to spend the money, are you?
Look, we don't know the extent of the bill for this yet. Ultimately, the government...
We do, because Gillian Keegan sat there and told me it's going to be many millions.
Well, what does many millions mean?
Well, it means more than 2.
Well, that's not a very precise answer from her.
It's not billions.
We are trying to find out the extent of the problem. Ultimately, the Chancellor is correct to say that it's the government's responsibility to make sure schools are safe for pupils to go into. I mean, what more damning picture could we have after 13 years of children being taught in schools? Where
So why don't you guys say, you know what
we're
we're going to do? We are going to restore the building programme that we first introduced back in the early 2000s.
That was a good building programme.
So why not restore it?
It was very ambitious. Like everything else in budgetary terms, when we get into office, we'll look at the situation. When we were in government last time,
we don't know what we're voting
the right
for,
thing
then?
by schools.
How do we know what we're voting for?
Look, we will always try to do the right thing by public services.
Do you think the Tories don't?
The budget will do that. Be set out by the Chancellor, our Labour Chancellor, in their first budget. And that's the right way to do it.
Do you think the Tories don't try and do the right thing?
I don't think Rishi Sunak's done the right thing by schools. I've looked at the figures this morning of when he was Chancellor. The capital budget for schools fell from over 700 million a year to 500 and then 400 million a year when he was Chancellor. He cut the budget for school improvements, and that has contributed to the problem that we're seeing today.
I know, and I've spoken to them about it, but I'm asking you whether you would put more money in. You can't tell me the answer.
I can't yet tell you the budget we'd have when we get into power, but I can tell you, if you look at what we did when we were in government before, we had a really good school improvement programme.
Spent all the money, though. Liam Byrne said there's no money left.
Be ambitious. Didn't Liam Byrne underestimate the situation, given what we're in now? The Tories have done a far worse
You've
job
been
for
practising
public
that
services.
one. I played straight into that, didn't I? It's good to see you, as always. 2 jobs now. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.